Hello, welcome to the Otherz Podcast. This is a weekly podcast talking all things Pharrell, N.E.R.D, the Neptunes, BBC ICECREAM, and much, much more. I'm your host, Stephen Penny from Helsinki, Finland. Joining me from the other side of the pond, all the way from New York, is the man.
You already know who it is. It's King of Creams, man. David Travis, what's going on? New York is on the map.
It's been on the map a while, I think.
Yeah, we almost run the world. Not yet, but I mean we're getting there. We're getting there.
You reckon? Slowly, maybe. But
I'm not sure what's going on over here now, but we're getting there. So
we won't get into politics on this podcast.
Yeah, no, we don't want to get killed.
No. But yes, as I mentioned, this is our new podcast, the Otherz Podcast, where we'll be talking all things Neptunes, Pharrell, BBC ICECREAM, all that stuff that you probably see from us on Instagram. If you're listening to this, you probably follow us already, probably know a little bit about what we're talking about. But we're going to get into it on a hopefully weekly basis, slowly working our way through all of the videos and discussing all of the popular culture, the fashion, the music, the everything, basically.
It's going to be something I think that we need, man. There's a lot of newness coming out. There's a lot of people that really don't, if they're just coming on right now, they really don't understand where this came from. So I'm actually happy to be doing this because I get so many direct messages about shoes and fashion and culture, and I think that this has probably never been done on the basis of, we're not really associated, but we're not like fans, but we're very knowledgeable. So I think this is something that's going to kind of just almost give the push of where, where we are right now and kind of coming back to, the newness of the brand. So, I got to thank you for starting this up. Just so you know, Penny, this is all you, man. So
this is all me, but I'm solely and wholly relying on you to be the one that schools people.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I got a lot of friends.
Answers to questions, and yeah,
got a lot of knowledge, man. This is like almost 15 years of just hardcore collecting. So, and I'm one of the few like you that is still around, that is still doing it, and that was not only alive and seeing it, but old enough to understand, what was going on. By the time, all of the Neptunes stuff, and the BBC, I was already in my 20s, so I can totally understand that. And a lot of the people today have, they were just growing up a little bit younger, so they couldn't really afford, well, I couldn't afford it then either, or they couldn't really understand what was going on. But I was already full-fledged college, fronting in my room, trying to be Pharrell already, so.
And obviously those people out there listening to the podcast, they can't see the video like I can, but David is busting some moves there as he talks.
So you gotta get your Pharrell on. But so I'm happy to be doing this. I'm happy to be here, man, and let's keep this going, man.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about the podcast. As I say, it's hopefully be a weekly thing, or at least a semi-regular thing. People out there, I think both myself and you, David, we get lots of questions and queries and stuff thrown our way in terms of all the BBC ICECREAM stuff, the Neptune stuff. So this is kind of a forum and a platform to answer some of those. So people out there, if you've got questions, if you've got queries, if you've got topics that you'd like us to talk about or specific things, then do get in touch, and we'll give you all the contact details later on to send us messages and whatnot. But yes, let's talk about this podcast a little bit and kind of where it's come from. As I say, a lot of it kind of stems from that kind of love of the Neptunes and N.E.R.D and the kind of fashion and the culture and all that stuff around it. But I also listen to a few other podcasts that kind of deep dive into some of these areas. So a popular one at the moment is Dissect, which I think in its first season looked at one of the Kendrick Lamar albums, is currently looking at a Kanye West album, and kind of deep dives into the production and the lyrics and stuff. I don't think we'll deep dive that much, but that was kind of one of the influences. It's an outlet to kind of discuss these things properly with somebody, as opposed to our usual conversations via iMessage or Instagram messages and stuff like that. Somewhere we can actually have an outlet to talk about these things.
I'm so happy that we're doing this, man. I'm Pharrell happy. No pun intended.
And I think you'll probably attest to this as well. Like whenever we post something new about what's going on in terms of the music or the fashion or whatever, we get loads of interests and loads of questions and
tons.
And the same as well when like we post stuff about classics from 10, 15 years ago, whether it's the music or the fashion or whatever, loads of questions. So this is going to be a great kind of outlet to kind of collate some of those and discuss some of those and go through it and hopefully give some people some information and some knowledge. And also bring people in as well. A lot of people have been really interested in joining us as guests. So looking forward to getting the whole kind of community involved.
You know, it's one of those things where when I was, you know, in the early stages, I'm not sure how long you've been following me, but in the early stages, I actually had another Instagram, and I was just doing this as a hobby. You know, it was just, let me put some sneakers up. But as I got more into it, I really saw that, you know, it wasn't just a collection. It was almost like preserving history. And that is really what just got it going. And one of the things I'm just going to touch upon real quick is that when I was collecting Jordans, you know, what got me out of that was, first it was being unique and the exclusivity about it. But that clearly went away, and you know it just opened up a realm of just the wrong people, and just when I walked out of a supermarket and I saw my grandmother with a pair of Jordans, I was like, all right, I'm done. You know, that's it. You know, how many times can you kind of release the same shoe over and over? And I think that's why I kind of stick with the ice cream, you know, BBC brand, is that everything is exclusive. Yeah, they might come out with a couple T-shirts and sometimes, and you know, redo a pattern over, but you know, you had a season 0 shirt. You know, that's season 0. Everyone can tell the difference between that and what's kind of happening now. And that's what's kind of kept me in the game with ice cream. So I just really wanted to kind of just clarify that because, you know, if they started, bringing back the same things, it kind of loses that. And I know it's been going for 10 years, but it's still here, if that makes sense. So, you know, that's really what kept me going with ice cream. And a lot of the times you hear those stories from people that are more so, you know, our age has kind of been doing it for a long time. But I think a lot of questions are going to get answered here. I think a lot of ideas are going to come up here. So I'm definitely ready to go.
Yeah, and kind of similar thoughts and feelings here, really. There was a period a few years back where some of the patterns were getting reused and some of it was a little bit samey to some of the older stuff. But there's been a resurgence the last, 2-3 years. And especially because the way the company is now set up with its individual kind of designers and locations and the different sort of flagship stores. But we'll get into that a bit more later on, I think. Very quickly, do you remember how we first actually met? Met isn't the right word, but
it's
I was going to
funny.
say online friends, but that sounds a bit weird.
It's funny. The only reason I knew where your country was straight up Pitbull. I don't know anybody from Helsinki at all. I didn't even know it was a real deal town. That's the only reason how I knew it. And I guess that kind of like, you had a lot of BBC stuff. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, wow, anybody that kind of was with the realm of BBC, I wanted to follow. I wanted to stick with that. But I think you may have sold me a pair of sneakers back in the day.
That's right, yeah. I know you're fronting a bit because I know you actually do know the story because we're re-recording this, but I'm just trying to play it out for the listeners. But yeah, I think like a few years back, I think I followed you anyway because you were, obviously you had the collection of ice creams and everything, and I followed you anyway, and I think I picked up a pair of board flips. I don't know which ones they were. You'd be able to tell
board flip 2, the crazy weirdo colors, the blue, yellow, purple, green, black, orange, neon brown.
That's it. I picked up a pair here and thought, I'll probably never get around to wearing them, but I thought I might know somebody who might want to buy them. So I think I reached out and you were like, oh yeah, cool, I'll take them off of you. And I sent them over, and I think the postage cost me more than what the actual shoes were.
Oh boy, I've been there.
Yeah, but I knew they were going to a good home, so I didn't mind so much.
Listen, I still got them. I haven't worn them. I'll send them back as my gift for doing this podcast.
You haven't worn them like probably 99% of what you've got. You probably haven't worn, have you?
Yeah, no. It's that can be the ice cream sneakers alone. I can spend a whole podcast just talking about one particular shoot, the negatives, the cons, the style, it just, that could be a whole nother operation, man.
We can get there one day, don't worry.
Oh, we will, 100%, man. Wait, so let me ask you a question.
Go on.
How did you get into the whole BBC thing? I'm not gonna lie, that's something I always wanted to ask you, and I know you've always been associated with it, but how did you first get into it? Like, what drew you? Was it a song? Was it a album? Like, what was it?
Yeah, so it, as opposed to like it starting with the BBC stuff, it started with the music in itself. So many years ago, when In Search Of came out, I was dating somebody at the time who I hadn't really heard of In Search Of. I knew of the Neptunes and obviously knew some of their songs that had come out kind of late 90s, early 2000s and stuff, and knew those kind of big hits, and I was kind of quite into hip hop. But my then girlfriend went to our local HMV, bought some CDs in a sale, and it was like, I don't know, buy 5 for, I don't know, £20 or £25 or something. And one that she came back with was In Search Of, and she listened to it and didn't like it. And I came over one day and she said, I've got this CD and I don't really like it, you might want to give it a listen. And on the front cover it said, produced by the Neptunes, and I was like, oh shit, that's the Neptunes that have been making all those bangers, So I need to give this a listen. And then I kind of started to obviously look into who N.E.R.D were and what In Search Of was all about. And I was hooked immediately. I must have spun that CD 10 times that day or something.
I want to say that that's most of the story that I hear from everyone. That album was very powerful. Very. Massively.
And that album, I still play it every day to this day. And we're 15 odd years on now, aren't we?
Now, let me ask you, what's your favorite song on there?
I don't know if I could pick one, if I'm honest.
Oof.
I always Bobby James is always a good one. Run to the Sun. I don't know. I can sit there and I can listen to that album back to back multiple times. Even right now, I could go put it on and listen to it. And something I really love about the album is obviously one, it's brilliantly produced and everything. But two, even to this day, 15 odd years later or whatever we are, it still sounds like a fresh album.
Oh, it does.
And some people that follow me may have seen in the past, I did an interview with Brent Paschke, who's Pharrell's guitarist and who's in Spy Mob and who plays guitar on the album and stuff. And
they murdered that album, by the way. They did a great job on that.
And shout out Brent. Hopefully we're going to get him on here soon with us. But people that follow what's going on will appreciate he's a little bit busy at the moment with some stuff that's up and coming. But he said he's definitely coming on, so I will reach out to him again soon. But I was saying to Brent, even now, all these years on, you still hear songs from that album being used on adverts and on TV breaks and on the radio and stuff like that. And if you released not any, but most of those songs now as singles, they would still do well. They would still get airplay. They would still get...
I think that is probably the most truthful thing I've heard in a long time. And I never really thought of it, that way. But if you dropped, one of the songs from today and put it on the radio, I think you're 100% right. It's not dated. They don't have that sound where it's like, oh wow, you hear an 80s song, it's 80s. You hear a 70s song, it's 70s. You hear that, that's almost timeless. That's actually a great point. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and even the kind of more commercial ones like Rockstar and Lap Dance and stuff, great songs in themselves, but they still sound good now, and they're the ones you still hear as adverts and things, and so it's still getting that recognition, it's still getting that play, and I think that's helped in the last couple of years as well with this kind of resurgence of BBC ICECREAM, all the stuff that Pharrell works on the last kind of few years and stuff. Yep. That's all kind of helped. It's all been running and ticking over in the background as well. And people that are new to the whole scene, they get introduced to In Search Of, and it doesn't sound like an album from 15 years ago. It still sounds fresh, so it sucks them in even more. It's
crazy. I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but I do own a DJ business. That's what I do full time. And there are songs that I can play today from, N.E.R.D, whether it be, Rockstar, or even She Wants to Move, where you drop at parties and people still go crazy. You drop at a party, I know it's not off the Search of album, but She Wants to Move, you drop that at a party sometimes. When did this song come out? It's like, little do you know how long this song has already been out. It's one of those things where it's like, wow, wait, this is song, how old is this song again? So I totally understand what you're saying with that. And that's one of the things that keeps us going too, We're still able to do this years later, and they've kind of moved on to a different sound, but we're still talking about it, and it kind of has an impact in history. So we're a part of it, and we're going to stay.
Yeah,
here.
for sure. And I think on a personal level as well, like these albums, especially In Search Of, has a lot of kind of memories associated to it.
Oh,
for
100%.
Me, I've kind of lived all around the world. I'm obviously from the UK originally, and I lived in Australia, and I back to the UK. Now I'm here in Finland, and in all these kind of chapters of my life over the last 15 odd years, I can kind of pinpoint stuff listening through that album, stuff that's happened, feelings, or whatever.
Yeah, you can
it may
have
be.
one song take you back to one moment. So when I hear Run to the Sun, it takes me back to when I first started DJing. When I hear Laugh About It, it takes me back, when we used to hang out in parking lots and just be going crazy. When I hear Rockstar, it reminds me of the time where, we robbed that bank that one time. No, I'm just kidding.
Maybe that's the part I should edit out of the podcast afterwards.
Yeah, don't put that in there.
But yeah, the music is kind of what got me started in the scene, and then from the N.E.R.D stuff, learning about the Neptunes themselves, and learning about the whole kind of production of everything, and being more interested and involved in music production, and then following on from there basically. And like I think I've seen. I become a fan sort of back in the day then, but since then I sort of followed Pharrell quite closely in anything that he's kind of involved in. And up until a few years back, I think I'd seen every like London gig he'd done. Mm-hmm. So I've seen him live. I think it's like 13 times I'm at now, maybe 14.
Wow.
So I used to travel up to London a lot, go and see him there. I think I've seen him abroad somewhere else as well. I can't remember where, but I'd always get to the gigs and followed him closely, and that's kind of what led on into the kind of BBC stuff, because he started to, obviously he was rocking the Bape stuff, and Bape got that really hype, that really kicked Bape onto a next level. So I was there copping the Bapesters, and I've got a few Bape tees and hoodies and stuff here still from back in the day.
I gotta tell you, not even with music, but like that whole scene with just fashion. And not even just, I can't even think of the word. Okay, so like now, when I want to get a shoe or a Bape shoe, I can just go right online and get it. But see, back then, you actually had to go down there, and you actually had to be a part of it. And like fronting and stuff was on the radio, and people were actually wearing. That will never ever erase out of my mind. Like now, it's a little different. People are buying shoes, people getting stabbed just for the hype about knowing nothing about it. When you had a piece of, article of the Bape clothing or ice cream, you were looked at as a weirdo. It was like, wow. Like now, you have it just because it's cool to have. But back then, the only reason why you had it is because you liked the music, you liked the fashion, and that's it. You can't ever replace that. And even with the kids coming up today, and I hate to sound like this, I sound like a grandfather, but those times were just... we were a part of that, know.
And there's that sort of recognition within that kind of your peer group and that kind of community that you actually made the effort to buy that thing. Like you say, now you can go to a lot of stores and buy Bape and BBC and stuff like that. But back then, in the UK, we had like one Bape store for a while. I used to get most of my stuff from eBay, from like Japan, from Pondon. Mm-hmm. And people in the US, and you'd have to like arrange proxies and get stuff shipped and deal with like import taxes and all that crazy shit. And it was a pain in the ass just to get a pair of shoes, or just to get a hoodie or something. And you really went through it to get it.
And you did it with no problem. I remember walking into the Bape store and walking into the Bape store. Like now you can't even walk in. There's a line and there's kids on there that don't even know how to say the word Bape. But you just walk right in, and you just say, I want this sweater, and I want this shirt, and that was it. And you walk out, and you were deemed a weirdo or cool, and that was the end of it. Like now, I don't know what's going on, but that time, I'm so happy I was able to experience that, and not for nothing. So
yeah, for sure. And I remember back in the day, last time I was in like New York, and this was before the BBC store was there, but you had the Bape store, and we had one in London for a while, and it was just, they'd bought that experience, that slightly strange shopping experience, over from obviously Tokyo and Japan where they started, and it was something completely different. You walk in, it's minimal clothing on the racks. You'd have the different sizes. There's neon lights. It's very sparse. It was just a completely different experience, and you had the tunes. I think when I was there, in fact, in New York, they were playing like Neptunes tracks that day or something.
Oh man!
And you've kind of got that music in the background that all kind of ties it into the culture. And
let me tell you,
it was the experience of it all.
That word experience is something that. Listen, for those of you listening right now, I need to tell you, the first time I walked into 456, that was the address of the BBC store. It was like, I'm getting the chills talking about it. Wow, wait a minute. So this guy's able to survive, and this place looked like an ice cream store? Like, clothing stores didn't look like that. And then behind the glass, listen, Penny, behind the glass, you would just see diamonds and dollars just sitting there. Like, what? Like, what is this? Like, what is that? Like, things that people just want to get now, and that, that's so hard to find. It was just sitting there like it was nothing. Like, oh, I'll take the money rolls and, the dollars and diamonds, and just walk out. And you were right. The Neptunes was playing. They had all the tracks that they were doing. You were walking in, and you were seeing people that was just, trying to tell you. Because remember, back then, the internet was the internet, but it wasn't like how it was now. So a lot of the stuff was secondhand. So people were we actually had to talk people. We actually had to talk to one another to find out what was going on, man. And I kind of miss those days, I'm not going to lie. So
yeah, for sure. And I think there's a great community now. There's a lot of new people in the community, but there are some older heads like ourselves as well. But back then it was a really tight-knit community.
Oh yeah.
I kind of got into it originally on the Star Trek forums and stuff, and knew lots of people from there and stuff. Yeah. And every now and again I see one of them pop up on one of the kind of Bape groups on Facebook, or BBC groups, or whatever it may be, or even on one of our Instagrams. There's still people that follow us that were kind of involved back then. And it was such a small kind of tight community, and people would hook stuff up for you. Like I've actually just packed it away, but an old Bape catalogue signed by Nego. Somebody, man. Yeah, he turned up in the London store. He was making an appearance, and somebody was like, I'll go get you one and help you out. And you don't get that so much these days. Now it's all about buying that shit and flipping it and reselling it. And
it's crazy. I mean, listen, I can't knock anybody for doing what they're doing, but it just, those times were just, it'll never be anything like it. So, I mean, I'm glad I got to experience it. I'm glad I got a lot of the stuff. And that's another thing. A lot of the stuff that I got from the actual store too as well. People are like, oh, where'd you get that today? I'm like, nah, man, I actually bought that, in the store. And that store's not even there anymore. They switched addresses. So I passed by there the other day. It's still vacant. We should go buy it.
If I do get this trip sorted out and come over in the next sort of few months, we'll go into the city one day and reminisce.
Yeah, man, it's that one block. It was fashion night out, and Kid Cudi came through one night, and it was just a lot going on. They would block that street off. That time will never erase out of my mind, man. That's all I got to say about that. So how did you first get into the ice creams and the BBC? And I'm gonna be straight up, and like I told everyone that asked me this question, and it's basically almost similar to the answer you got. It wasn't the fashion that started first. It was the music. That is what got me hooked, and I want to say that is what a lot of OG quote unquote answers as well. So I'll never forget it. I was working in a before I bought the company. I was I guess you could say almost like a janitor. I was going to school and just cleaning buildings just to get money. I really didn't care what I did. And there was a guy that lived in one of the buildings that I used to work in, and I guess he was a part of a record pool. He would just throw out records every month. So me being a startup DJ, I would just take the records. Yes, I started on records, okay? And for those of you who don't know, that a record player does have two speeds, 33 and 45. Anyway, I had a candle near my record player. I don't know why. I was probably I don't know what I was trying to do. And I spilled the candle on this record, and the wax, dried up. It was like wax on wax. Anyway, so it dried up, and as I'm scraping it off, I see the name of the record, and it said N.E.R.D. Run to the Sun. So I was like, let me just put this record on just to see if it still works. Now, at that time, since it was a record pool, a lot of the stuff was promo. So, it was, they were just starting to come out. So this is how early this was. And I put it on, and for some reason, usually a 12-inch record plays on 33, and a smaller record plays on 45. But for some reason, it was a reverse. So when I put the bigger record, the 12-inch on, I had it on 33, and it sounded like Before You Go, I Want to Talk to You. It was very slow. And for some reason, I thought that's how it was supposed to go. And I'm rocking out. To this, and it's slow as hell. My brother comes in and is like, yo, what are you doing? It's supposed to be on 45. I'm like, oh, but it's a 12-inch. He's like, put it on 45. I put it on 45, and then I actually heard Run to the Sun. I'm like, oh, okay. I knew that. Anyway. And once I heard Run to the Sun, I flipped the record over, and on the flip side, it was Am I High? And when I heard that, I think it was Push's verse, that was it. I said, whenever this album comes out, I'm buying it. And when I tell you, from that moment on, I was hooked. And that's how I got into the Pharrell, Neptunes, Chad, Shay, N.E.R.D. culture. I wasn't collecting shoes at the time because I was still into Jordan, so I was just listening. It wasn't until he started with almost like the Can I Have It Like That, is when you really started seeing him wearing, the BBC, the fronting and all that. I'm like, what is this BBC? I keep seeing astronaut suits by BBC. What is this? And I had already sold my Jordans, done with that, and I see this weird looking shoe. The first shoe I ever bought was the board flip one. It was a blue silhouette, purple in the front, came with yellow laces. That was my first shoe. I bought that shoe and got so much negativity on it. I'm like, I want more. Because it just brought, any attention is good attention. And it just brought so much attention. And I was just like, wow, I actually like this.
So you were actually quite late into the game then, if the board flip was your first one. Yeah,
100%. And I tell a lot of people that too. I was more into because I also play the piano. So I was more listening to Pharrell and Chad for their music works. Fashion thing, I started working at the DJ company. I really couldn't wear that stuff. So I was like, I'm not going to start doing this stuff again. I already sold my Jordans. I'm not getting back into this. I got to start saving up. So I came really late into the game. And look how much I got, from I was real late. I want to say like 3-4 years late. Even today, a lot of my first boutique, I bought like in 2009-10, So you could still do it. You can do it too. Everything I said was use a Pharrell. Yeah, I'm always going to use a Pharrell reference.
Yeah.
That's going to be my thing from now on. I'm going to come up with a whole sentence.
If you can drop at least one into every episode, if someone can spot every one of them, we'll sort them out a prize of some kind.
Yes. I actually like that. I'm going to kill this. I got that DJ brain. The girls, they just love my brain. Anyway.
There's another one for you, folks.
There's another one.
Oh
man. Anyway,
and we're gonna do an episode a week, and I think we've got about 50 topics lined up, so it's going to be a long year of dad-like puns and references from you.
Yeah, I'm liking that, man. The only thing is, don't try to run up on my ear, talking all that raspy. I can't I can't do that, man. I want to do regular
Don't
questions.
use them all up now. Don't use them all up now.
I can do this for days.
Oh man! All right, let's move on a little bit.
I'm gonna move on.
I'll kind of talk about how I kind of got into some of the clothing side of things.
Yeah, because you have a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I was stalking your Instagram page.
Well,
last night.
I had a lot of requests to show all the random shit that I've got. So I did a quick Instagram live video the other night while I unpacked my wardrobes to get ready to move house, and I counted up. There's something like 70 odd pieces now or something. T-shirts and hoodies and some jeans and jackets and whatnot. That doesn't include like the shoes and things as well.
Right.
But yeah, I used to have a lot more, in fact. But when I moved back from Australia, I stored a lot of stuff with a friend with the intention of getting it shipped back to the UK at a later date. And then when I got round to getting it shipped back, it had all mysteriously gone missing from his office. And that was all like season 0 to about season 4, maybe, I think. And there were some gems in there, some absolute gems that like I've never seen anywhere else since. So that still bugs me to this day. That was like about 10 years ago, maybe.
Oh man, that bugs me.
That still hurts. But yeah. Anyway, back to the point. Yeah, when I was actually I went to see Pharrell actually in London somewhere, and he came out, and he was wearing a pair of like OG Diamond & Dollars. I think it was the white, red, and black pair.
Mm-hmm. That's the most sought after.
Originals, yeah. And I was right near the front, and I remember seeing his shoes, and I was like, "Damn! Like, what the fuck are those? They look crazy." And like I couldn't work out what they were. Obviously, they didn't say like didn't have a logo on them like Adidas or Nike, or they were made by Reebok. There was no Reebok branding on them or anything, so you just couldn't tell what they were. And then it was a few days later, I actually saw it was in like a magazine somewhere. I couldn't tell you what magazine, but it was some magazine talking about him starting up BBC and ICECREAM. And he was talking. It was an interview with him, I think, and they were talking about how the shoes were coming out and stuff, and they were going to be made by Reebok and distributed by Reebok. So I was like, oh, damn, they were like, I saw them in real life. They were really dope. I need to try and get a pair of those.
And the packaging.
But at the time, I didn't realise they were going to be so limited. I thought they would just be like a general release and you'd just be able to get them easy. So when they came out, I was like, they're quite pricey. They were like £120 or something like that. And I was like, well, I don't really want to pay that much at the moment. I'll pick a pair up at some point, And the shit's just sold out, man. They sold out like almost immediately. And
let me tell you, I'm gonna stop you right there. Just to interject real quick. But that is something I don't know if you're gonna write down or I need to write down. But I need to cover that topic, like you just said, because if you're listening, viewers, listen to what I'm saying to you. Listen to what he just said. It was sold out back then. And that's when it came out. And that's when there was only a tiny group of people that really knew about it. Now there's millions that know about these drops. Right, and we're 10 years later. So how much do you expect to find? And that's why I really want to educate people, because I get a lot of, hey, I want the Dollars and Diamonds Colette Green dead stock in a 10. Really? Because so do I. Me too. Because you're not going to find that. And that's where the education comes in. But I didn't mean to cut you off. But I definitely that's fine. But yeah, I went up to London kind of maybe a few weeks after they'd come out. And I was like, oh, while I'm up here, I'll swing by the Reebok store in Covent Garden. Because that was the only place in the UK, I think, that was selling them, that had stock of them. And I went in and I said, oh, have you got any of those, any of the ice creams left? And they were like, nah, of course we don't. Yeah, we sold out ages ago. They came in and they went out the door, basically. And then someone else kind of came in and interjected and was like, oh, actually, we might have a pair out the back. Like, what shoe size are you? And I was like, UK 8. And he was like, I can have a look. And he came out and he had a box in his hand and he was like, we've got one pair left. One pair. And it was... These were the mini Diamond & Dollars. So this was like kind of... This might have been actually a little while after the original OG ones. A little bit of time had passed, maybe. And I was like, okay, fine. I'll take them. They're like half a size too small or something, but fuck it, I'll squeeze into them, And I didn't try them on. I didn't look at them. Nothing. Bought them. Took them home. I maybe wore them, I don't know, once or twice or something, and then thought, actually, I want to just
keep them like not dead stock, but in a pretty good condition. And it was actually only recently when I
I know where you're going with this too.
I moved into this apartment. I think it was this apartment here, and they were stored in my mum's loft in the UK. So I got my mum to ship over a load of stuff to me, which had been sat in her loft for ages, and that included clothes and shoes and whatnot. A few pairs of ice creams actually, and this pair turned up, and I was like, brilliant! I'm going to see if I can still fit into them. I'll try and wear them. And I opened them and actually decided to look at them and check them properly. And it was at that point that I realised they were the only pair left in the Reebok store 10 years ago, because they're actually a completely mismatched pair. And one is a I think a 7.5, and one is a 6.5, and they've both got like slightly different numbers because they're out of what were those ones, 3,500, 5,500, or something.
I think they were like 55, maybe 5,000.
Yeah, and these are kind of both slightly different numbers because they're different sizes. So they're a mismatched pair. And one of them doesn't fit properly. One of them is like a size smaller than the other. So now, they're still just sat in the box. And I thought about selling them recently, but because they're mismatched, it's hard to sell. And if someone's going to buy them, they're probably not going to buy them because they're going to wear them. So I thought, fuck it, I'll keep them, and when I move house in a few days, I might actually get some nice kind of cabinet or shelving unit and actually just display them in some kind of way. Yeah,
it's crazy that you for every shoe, I think I'm touching around 700 right now, and for every shoe, I can tell you there's a story, and I'm gonna tell you a quick story about by far the most shoe that I get inquiries on is the brown and pink Colette Diamonds and Dollars, which I'm sorry, I don't see it. I wouldn't even put that in my top 10. I'm sorry. That
is my ultimate grail, that one. I love that colorway. I love the brown and the pink together.
There's a huge sneaker collector. He goes by the name Mayor on Instagram. He has a lot of shoes, about 3,000. And he always says, I hate collectors that just like, when they list their top 5 shoes, there's always has to be something exclusive. Like, if you know me, my top ice cream is the all yellow board flip 2. Like, that is $29.99 all day, every day, or, on the shelf when I bought it. And I thought it was the best shoe. But anyway, quick story about one of the dollars and diamonds that I have. So the most sought out one I have is size 9 all white dollars and diamonds dead stock. I'm going to tell you how I got this. I had met a guy that I was talking to about the ice cream sneakers, and he told me, he was like, listen, I have this pair, it's a size 9, I know it's your size, I want to offer to you. So I said, okay, what is it? He was like, oh, they're like white with diamonds. And I'm thinking he's talking about, the small dollars and diamonds. I'm like, all right, cool. So he comes out and he goes, oh, it's these. And I looked at him like, yo, dude, I don't want to take advantage of you right now, but what you have? He was like, yeah, but I'm going to hook you up with them because the other one is a display piece, so we'll give you some money off. Put it this way, I'm not going to tell you what I got them for, but I got those size 9 white dollars and diamonds for cheaper than what retail was 10 years ago. Dead stock. There was a smudge on because one of them he had as a display, and there was a smudge on it. And that's how I got my white size 9 dollars and diamonds. And going back to your story, every shoe that I have has almost similar story like that. It's crazy. When you really start looking at some of these shoes, you're like, damn, I didn't notice this the first time. I have one pair of money rolls where I think, like I said, I get my numbers messed up, but I think the total number is 5,500. But I have one that says 5501. It's like a defect, kids say, oh, it's fake, but anyway, it's a defect, and it's crazy because it's like, this one's a size 9.5, but the other one's a 9. Should I get rid of it? No, I'm just gonna keep it. You never know, So some stuff like that can almost be unique in a way. I buy it from you, but I'm not. But I would.
And I think last time we recorded this episode a little while back. Actually, we had some technical issues, but I think during that recording, you told me how much you got those D&D's for, and I think I gasped, and I don't want you to say that price again and make me feel sad about my life.
It is, people ask me all the time, what's the most expensive stuff? A shoe is only worth what somebody's going to pay for it. I can go to my mom and be like, hey, here's a pair of silver, BWS dead stock. She'd be like, all right, what is this? And she'll throw it out. But I can go to other people and they say, you know what? I'll give you $2,000 for it. Those are also some rare joints, but we'll go to that later. We'll talk to about that stuff later, because I can really go in on that, and you know it. And we're going to be a force to be reckoned with, man.
I'll give you some quick breaking news. Those waiting on the new N.E.R.D album, you will be very happy. One of the other songs, the song called 1000, has just been released on iTunes, and I assume elsewhere as well. So they're obviously, it says here the whole album isn't yet available, but that one song is. So if you've pre-ordered the album, as I have, and I've paid a small fortune to have it on every format possible, like the idiot I am.
I'm waiting for that. Don't do it. That joint sounds official.
I purposely, when they did the listening party at Complex Con, I don't know if you can call it a listening party, but whatever you want to call it, I purposely avoided sitting there and watching the whole thing end to end. I've caught snippets of songs and little bits and pieces here and there, but I've purposely tried to avoid it, just so when that album drops, I can just put my headphones on and just sit there in silence and just listen to it end to end and not have any preconceptions or anything like that. Because especially when you listen to something live in an environment like that, it never sounds like it's going to sound on the album as well.
Oh, 100%.
So I've avoided it so far, but I'll be giving this a proper listen as soon as we've finished recording here.
What do you think of the song Lemon?
I like it. It does sound like a song that's from 2015.
Yes.
As they've alluded to recently, and I think even said in a Complex Con interview that they originally did it in 2014, 2015. It does have that sound to it, but I like the fact they realised that it was actually a good song. They've kept it to one side, and they've kind of reworked it slightly and brought it back. I like both versions of it. In fact, if you go on Apple Music and probably on Spotify and stuff as well, you can get like the non-Rihanna version.
Yep.
And then there's obviously the video Rihanna version as well.
That's the first one I heard, to be honest with you. And when I heard Rihanna, I'm like, is this a remix or something? I didn't even know.
I think they're both good versions. If you haven't heard both, like the Rihanna version is just basically a copy of the original Pharrell verse with a few tweaks here and there lyrically. But yeah, they both sound good. It goes pretty hard. It's not a bad track. I wouldn't say it's a favourite of mine or it's one of the best or anything, but it's a fairly solid, single release.
A lot of people are saying that this is not N.E.R.D. You got to go back to the olden days, and this is something we were touching upon before. Like, those days are those days. Listen, I get that for us it may not sound like an In Search Of or Fly or Die. I understand why they had to do it. I mean, you got to keep up with the times. You see a lot of the featuring now. Before, a lot of the songs were just N.E.R.D. Now you're getting features, Kendrick Lamar and Rihanna. That's things that you have to kind of do to keep up with the trend. It's almost like I'm a huge fan. I'm sorry, even bigger than Pharrell, of this group called Jamiroquai, and it's the same thing with them. Back in the day, they were singing about saving the earth, and it was all instruments, and it was like we don't use any electronics. But they ain't saying that now. Now they're driving their Ferraris, polluting the air. So you got to keep up with the times. Shout out to Jamiroquai.
Shout out JK and his car collection is almost as obscene as your shoe collection.
Let me tell you, I know this is the Otherz Podcast, but Jamiroquai is the truth. Straight.
We can do a Jamiroquai one day as well. I grew up on Jamiroquai too, so
I have been into Jamiroquai before I even knew what a Fly or Die was. I was a space cowboy a long time ago. So
I bet you there's a lot of people listening to this now that will not get that reference. But,
but go,
I know you will. Go look it up. Go look it up. If you really value your music and I think you will appreciate some old Jamiroquai stuff.
Oh, Return to Space Cowboy, y'all gotta get on that ASAP Rocky right now. That album was fire.
For sure. Let's quickly talk about like BBC stuff as well. While we've done kind of the shoes and the ice creams already.
Let me ask you, how do you see it going right now? Like, what is your opinion on it? Let's say you knew nothing about the past, like you didn't know a thing about it. If you walked into the store, what would you say about their clothing?
That's a tough one.
Because you have a lot of stuff, but so I know it's going to be hard for you. But like, what would you say about it?
I would say it's. Again, it depends what store you talk about, because the way the business works at the moment, and we kind of mentioned this briefly earlier, is each of the kind of three main areas, so New York, London, Tokyo, they kind of have carte blanche to do what they want in terms of designs and what they push out. And they cross-collaborate and they move stuff around, but they do a lot of their own stuff. So if you walk into the US store, it's a completely different experience and completely different clothing line to if you walk into the London store or the Tokyo store. So it's really different. I think the US store is slightly conservative isn't the right word, but more kind of in line with general kind of fashion trends, I think. Whereas if you go to the UK one, especially recently, shout out Joe and Ross that are doing a lot of the designs and stuff there at the moment. A lot of them are kind of very out there. They're very different. They're using a lot of they've recently brought back the Space Beach camo, which I really love. All over prints of that. The checkered stuff which came out recently, I'm not a big fan of that design, but that's kind of popular over in Europe and in the UK at the moment. These kind of weird all over pop logo kind of tees and stuff with the car crashes and the neon and stuff. There's a lot of kind of different stuff. There's a really good mixture in the EU store. So it depends where you went into, but I think they generally follow what's going on elsewhere in the kind of fashion and popular culture world at the moment in terms of the brands that are kind of hot at the moment. But I think if I walked into a store now not knowing anything about BBC or ice cream, I would still be interested. I would still really like a lot of the designs. That
sounds fair. I would say I agree with that.
Yeah, and if you look at the overall kind of collection across the different stores, you would have something that suits your taste anyway. There's such a kind of mixture that they have.
Let me ask you, I think that the way you answered that was perfect. I think a lot of the times when people say they're not, how they used to be, well, nothing is going to be how it used to be. You're not going to be how you were 5 minutes ago. So I think when people need to, when they start comparing, they need to just drop the past and look at it right now. The way you answered that was awesome. What do you think about the new? Now I'm only getting back to the shoes because that's what I know about. What do you think about the Pharrell, shoes? Not judging from the past, I think they're great. I think the Human Race are cool. I think the Hue 2.0, I think that's the best shoe of the year right now. I'm sorry. That shoe is ridiculous. I think they're doing a great job at it. Some of the shoes definitely did suck. The Super Sculpt and what was the other one? That was like super, not Super Color. It was
the shell toe ones with like the anime
super
stuff
ugly,
and
whatever it was called.
Yeah.
So but you know what? I think that's a fair answer. I think you. But
it's the same with any brand and any musician or anything. The times change, their own work evolves, creativity evolves and changes, influences evolve and change, and there's some of that stuff that we look at and think that wasn't a very good time for the shoes or the brand or the clothing. But there are other people out there that do actually like that, which is why it got made in the first place.
Yeah, that's also you're spot on. But I think it's the year that the decade we were born. Anybody that was like, are you 80s baby, Penny? 82,
yeah.
I'm 83. Yeah, I think that's the general. We make sense. I'm sorry, y'all. You early 80s, we all make sense, man. After 95, I don't know what happened.
Fucking crazy kids and their crazy fashions nowadays.
Like, why is he wearing a purse? What's going on right now? But anyway. But
so you don't have an awful lot of BBC, but did you get into BBC as well when you started like discovering the ice cream stuff?
I did. I have a ton of T-shirts. Like I said, being right now, I'm dressed down, but having the career that I have, for 7 days, I was dressing in a 3-piece. I really had no use to wear. We would go out with my friends, and I'd be the only one dressed with a tie. Like, Travis, what are you doing right now? I go, that's really all I have. That's really all I had. So I really didn't get into the clothing a lot. I do have a lot of T-shirts, but that's where it stops. I didn't wear jeans. Like I said, I couldn't wear it to work. And that's why for a long time my ice cream collection was frozen, because I just couldn't do anything with it. So if I can go back in time, I would definitely want to kind of just get more into because the jackets, some of those jackets, I'm just like, oh my God, like, yo, man, can I have it like that? Gosh, damn, like that's amazing. Was that another one?
And yeah, as we start doing these podcasts more and more over the next kind of few weeks, I need to find some kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Some kind of indication as that you've made some kind of reference or pun of some kind of ding every time you make one in the background. I can edit that in afterwards.
Yes. Yes.
I don't know if I want to spend that much time editing, but we'll see. We'll see.
Wow, well, you know what? If you put the ding in, then
and it would obviously be a Neptunes kind of ding, or
we have to have
kind of thing,
something exactly. Like that. I should have my keyboard in here. That should be another podcast. I should break down some of the. Oh, and let me tell you something. I know we haven't touched upon it, but the music is. I am a piano player, and I will tell you right now, sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm like, how did this guy come up with this? How did they come up with this? Like, how? I put them, I'm sorry, I put them amongst the range of Quincy Jones, Stevie Wonder, Elton John. Like, how did you, what? What is this? Like I Love You. Like, what?
For sure.
What?
They are up there, and they're Like I Love You, and like that album Justified is another album I go back to quite a lot, and it's a really weird album because it has that Timberlake N.Sync pop kind of side, but then from the other side, if you're like a Neptunes fan or a Timbaland fan as well, who's on the album, those beats are ridiculous, but also you look at kind of the whole package and how it was made and what they did with like Timberlake as an artist. They turned him from a teeny bopping, bad blonde haircut having, pretty annoying pop star with no real credibility. Well, he sold a lot of records, obviously, but
that made his career. That album.
They turned him into like a bona fide R&B star that appealed to like everybody.
That career put him. That album put his career on the map.
Yeah, he certainly wouldn't be anywhere near where he is now without that album. And
just so you know, and letting all the listeners know, a lot of the times when I talk to my music buddies, sometimes they ask me. We always talk about chords. Chords that's going to be another podcast. Pharrell's chords, Chad's chords, but they ask me, what is your favorite chord progression? And hands down, it's in a class of its own. There's a song on Justin Timberlake's first album. It's called Take It From Here. It's like a slower song, but the breakdown, the bridge, like give me one reason. Anyway, that chord progression is by far the best chord progression, in my opinion, that has ever touched any album, any song, any bridge. That one breakdown, it's 4 chords, and it is phenomenal. I play it all the time. And just so you guys also know, that one chord progression, we'll touch upon this later, is used in 10 other Pharrell songs that you probably didn't even know, but it's the same chord progression, and just the way that Pharrell makes it sound, and is like, that's from another song, but he the average listener would never put that together. But yeah, man, we have a lot of tough stuff to talk about. As I'm going, Penny, I'm writing all this stuff down.
Yeah,
on my phone.
We've got a nice list of, as I say, about 50 odd items to discuss as we kind of progress, and I do think there's a couple of Timberlake videos and tracks in that list as well. So we'll be sure to be talking about the album and about other songs on there and all that good stuff.
I am ready to go, man. This is going to be fun, man, and hopefully we get a lot of positive feedback on this. Like I said, we're just here to just kind of, the whole thing with the Others is we're all the same. We all have basically the same mind. I will say that I haven't experienced a lot of negativity with anybody that's contacted me. It's always been positivity. Your collection looks awesome. We love what you're doing. And I know I'm going to speak for myself, I want everyone to kind of be included in this, just because it's, right now I feel like in the world we just need that, straight up. Nobody's better than anybody. We kind of just need that. So that's what I'm trying to embody with the Others. It's just, we're going to just have us weirdos kind of just stick together and, we'll do our thing, and that's really it. So
yeah, for sure. And, while it's us two here every week doing this, chatting shit, we do want other people from the community involved. So like I mentioned earlier, if you have ideas, suggestions, topics, questions, then send me a DM or you a DM or to our actual podcast page at Otherz Podcast. Just send us a message. We'll make a note of it. We'll write it down. We'll try and address it. It might not be immediately because it may tie in with something we've got planned in the coming weeks or months. Mm-hmm. But we'll try and address everything that we get. And again, if anyone out there, if anyone's they think they're a super fan, they love chatting, Neptunes, N.E.R.D, BBC ICECREAM, then again, get in touch, and you're more than welcome to join us on the podcast and chat shit with us as well.
Listen, Penny, I can't thank you enough, man, for doing this, man. This is really awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Make sure that you go follow the Instagram pages. And if you guys have any questions, like I said, you can reach out to us directly through Instagram or on King of Creams or Penny's personal page. Definitely, I don't know if you want people reaching out to you in your personal, but if you take a look at his personal page, he'll tell you I know he just changed it, but he has a lot of gear on there. I'm not gonna lie, last night, just to let you know, I'm trying to do something like a trailer for this, so I had to get a picture of you. I don't know if you want to just send it to me. So I'm looking, and I'm just like, whoa, I never really divulged into look, he has a lot of stuff in right now. So definitely go check it out, yo.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on there. But yeah, you are welcome to message me on my personal page, which is now Steve R. Penny, SteverPenny. As I say, we've got the Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook account for the podcast itself, which is Otherz Podcast, Others with a Z, because that's how the cool kids spell it these days, isn't it? And where can people find you?
All right, so you're going to go to, it's going to be King of Creams. That's with a Z, because that's how the cool kids say it today. That's CREAMZ. All right, you can definitely check that out. Also, my ice cream reference page that I'm trying to build up right now. I'm just taking a lot of pictures. It's going to be Ice Creams, same thing, CREAMZ 101. And that's both on Instagram. All right, so that's why I can be reached. If you need anything, please hit me up. I do take a while to kind of get back to things, but I definitely will get back to you guys.
Good stuff. And also, we will try and put together some show notes for following episodes of this. Maybe not this one itself, but in the future when we talk about certain videos and items and whatever it may be, I'll do show notes and references and stuff. So there will probably be on my website unless we sort something else out. But that still comes under OtherzPodcast.com, and we'll set up a page there. And that will have both links to where you can download this podcast, where you can listen to it, as well as all the links out to the different things we talk about.
I'm ready to go, man. I appreciate this, and as we move on, I'm gonna have so much more to kind of just bring out there. Because even right now, the things that we talked about, I must have wrote like 10 other topics down. So I'll show you the list what I got. Everyone, if you're out there, you're listening, we want to thank you everybody for their support. Once again, it's King of Creams with a Z. Hit me up anytime, guys. I would love to just be a part of any questions or anything that you want to answer. Just definitely let me know.
Yes, so definitely. Reach out to us, get in touch with us. We're going to work on the podcast and all of our topics and stuff throughout December. We'll get Christmas and New Year out of the way. And then come January, hopefully we'll start knocking out these podcasts on a semi-regular basis, let's say. Ideally weekly, but we're not going to guarantee that right now. But they'll be coming every now and again. So yeah, keep an eye on all the social media and you'll see whenever we post new stuff, basically.
I'm definitely down. Like I said, if you want to follow, it's Otherz with a Z podcast. Make sure you hit that follow button, and you'll find out all the information about upcoming podcasts. I'm going to be posting some pictures of some things that people ask me a lot on King of Creams. I'm going to kind of divert it over. We want some traffic, so make sure you hit that follow button.
Definitely do that. Well, that's it for now. As I say, I am Steve Penny. Follow me at Steve R. Penny. He is David Travis, all the way from New York, Mr. at King of Creams.
With a Z.
With a Z, a Z as we say in proper English. But yeah, get in touch and we will speak to you soon, everyone. Bye-bye.
Take care.